On the 22nd of June 2019, Sputnik News reported that Russian satellite imagery and recent naval expeditions have potentially identified up to 7 new islands in the Arctic Sea. The Department of Navigation and Oceanography of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, that is, the Russian Hydrographic Service, announced that the Northern Fleet would dispatch a hydrographic mission to confirm the discovery in either August or September 2019. It further explains that islands may be hiding underneath the glaciers covering Arctic archipelagos and that glacial recession can potentially expose them. The Russian State Corporation for Space Activities, Roscosmos, reported a similar event on Valentine's Day 2018, when an island about the size of several city blocks emerged as a result of the Velkitsky Glacier retreating on the Novaya Zemlya archipelago. Now, the Russian Hydrographic Service infers that the 2019 findings are located along the same island chain. Novaya Zemlya was the site of Cold War-era nuclear weapon testing by the United Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, and Thomas Nielsen of the Barents Observer states, quote, Russia is still using the test range for subcritical nuclear weapons tests and other nuclear weapons-related testing, end quote. Additionally, the site features the Rogachevo Air Base, which was initially a staging operation for Soviet intercontinental strategic bombers. The concept was originally designed to enable the Soviet Union to reach North American targets by way of the North Pole. However, Frédéric Lazare, director of Laval University's Quebec Council for Geopolitical Studies, explains that the USSR had quickly abandoned this trans-Arctic airstrike campaign. He states that a lack of adequate anti-aircraft capabilities at these locations was, quote, one of the factors during the Cold War that led the Soviets to prefer deep bases, such as Engels and Belaya, which were positioned along the southern border of the Soviet Union, for strategic bombers, rather than close sites in the Arctic or Europe, end quote. The map presented here was generated by Laval University's Department of Geography and shows the USSR's southern air bases, Engels, Belaya, and Ukrainka, featuring long-range bomber routes destined for North American targets. Meanwhile, the 6 near-Arctic and Arctic sites, Aderma, Nagoskoye, Temp, Tiksi, Vorkuta, and Rogachevo, are represented as close-range support bases designed to assist local Soviet military operations. Lazare maintains that the modern Rogachevo Air Base likely serves a similar role for the Russian Federation in the Arctic Ocean. He states that since these Cold War-era sites have recently been reactivated and upgraded, they likely serve as, quote, points of support positioning a limited number of patrol and fighter planes, such as the MiG-29, MiG-31, Su-27, Su-35, or tactical bombers, such as the Su-34, to better control approaches from the Siberian coast, rather than trans-Arctic offensive bases. End quote. His report, which was commissioned by the Canadian House of Commons around 2018, highlights Rogachevo's current capabilities. These include, quote, a 2,500-meter, that is, 8,200-foot runway, and 800-meter, that is 2,600 feet, of parking, allowing for the positioning of about a dozen fighter bombers. The base itself is equipped with a 4-story control tower, which would provide enough room for a fighter squadron. There are a few old concrete buildings for the staff. A new 3-point barracks was under construction in 2017, but none of that is enough to position the many valuable, high-maintenance Tu-160s or Tu-95s that are heavy users of spare parts and fuel. End quote. Additionally, it seems that Russia has been developing its anti-aircraft capabilities at Rogachevo. These photos were uploaded in December 2015 by the Russian Defense Ministry in an album called New Anti-Aircraft Regiment of the Northern Fleet placed on the combat duty in the Novaya Zemlya archipelago. That same month, the TASS Russian news agency announced a heavy deployment of anti-aircraft capabilities to the location. Captain First Rank Vadim Serga of the Northern Fleet told the state media outlet that an S-300 surface-to-air missile system was already stationed, which was reinforced by an S-400 protected by a Pantsir-S, quote, to provide close-in defense for the S-400s, end quote. Serger added that an anti-ship K-300P, Bastion P, was positioned there as well. The official added, quote, aircraft control posts and radio technical, radar, and space surveillance units positions have been established in all of their stations along the northern sea routes from the Kola Peninsula and Novaya Zemlya to Anadyr and Cape Schmidt in the east. All of them are on alert duty. End quote. It seems that Lazar's thesis is proven incorrect. That is, if a lack of sufficient anti-air protection made Russian Arctic bases incapable of trans-Arctic strategic strikes, then the newfound presence of adequate air defenses may make these bases capable of achieving that which the USSR failed to do: fully militarized Arctic islands which are capable of staging trans-Arctic strike missions. How do recently exposed islands in the Novaya Zemlya archipelago help the Russian Defense Ministry fulfill its mission to, quote, ensure the security interests of the Arctic, end quote? One theory is that new usable landmass can serve as staging grounds for weapon defense batteries like the S-300, S-400, or Pantsir-S. More territory, however small, can potentially house storage space for the additional spare parts and fuel Lazare says Russian Tu-160s and Tu-95s require. This inter-island logistics strategy was utilized in the subtropical climate of Florida when the United States of America was at war with Spain during the Spanish-American War. Two pre-aviation military installations were constructed on small islands, or keys, located at the mouth of Tampa Bay: Fort DeSoto on Mullet's Key and Fort Dade on Egmont Key. Egmont Key had several logistical infrastructures which Mullet's Key had lacked, such as an ordnance repair facility, while Mullet's Key functioned as a support base for these smaller islands, featuring an anti-submarine mine storage and operations center. Though they never saw live combat, these two island bases formed one complete militarized archipelago. The task of militarizing newly accessible islands in the Arctic will feature its own challenges. Hopefully, the Russian hydrographic mission will soon announce what they find and what they intend on doing with them.